The room went silent the moment Ibrahim Traoré stepped inside. The U.S. delegation had been waiting, with Donald Trump himself seated at the center of the long table, arms folded, face carved in stone. Everyone expected a young African soldier to appear nervous. But Ibrahim's eyes were steady, calm like a man carrying more than himself. The smell of strong coffee lingered in the air, untouched on the table, as if no one dared lift a cup. A single sound, Trump tapping his pen, echoed like a hammer against the walls. Trump leaned forward first. "You don't understand negotiations, Ibrahim. We set the terms. You follow." His voice was sharp, meant to cut, but Ibrahim didn't blink. "Burkina Faso is not for sale. Not today. Not ever." The room tightened. Even seasoned diplomats shifted uncomfortably in their seats. No African leader had spoken this boldly here before. Trump's smirk froze halfway. For the first time, he looked unsure. And then, with terrifying calm, Ibrahim pushed a folder across the table. Its edges brushed Trump's hand. "Read this," he said, his tone unshakable. Inside was something no one expected, something that could unravel the entire negotiation. Trump's hand trembled slightly as he opened the folder. His face, usually unreadable, shifted from arrogance to disbelief in seconds. Photographs, documents, a list of secret dealings in Africa, evidence of broken promises and exploitation tied to powerful U.S. interests. The air thickened. You could almost hear the scratch of paper as Trump flipped each page. One American official coughed nervously, avoiding eye contact. "Where did you get this?" Trump's voice cracked, a rare fracture in his iron posture. Ibrahim leaned forward. "From the people you thought were too small to be heard. Farmers, mothers, children. Every victim of the games you've played. They trusted me with their pain." His words carried weight heavier than weapons. Trump slammed the folder shut. "This is lies. Propaganda." But the sweat on his forehead told a different story. And then something unexpected happened. One U.S. negotiator, a woman who had stayed quiet all morning, whispered, "It's true." Everyone froze. Trump's glare snapped toward her, but the damage was done. Doubt had cracked the wall. Ibrahim didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Truth doesn't need permission," he said softly. The silence afterward was unbearable. Tension filled every corner of the room. Trump's hand clenched into a fist, but his eyes betrayed something no one had ever seen before. Fear. Ibrahim stayed still, his calmness a weapon sharper than any blade. "You wanted a deal," he said quietly. "But a deal built on lies is a chain. I came here to break it." One diplomat muttered, "This could destroy years of work." Another hissed back, "Or save millions of lives." The clash of whispers only made the silence around Trump heavier. Suddenly he stood up. His chair screeched loudly against the floor, the sound cutting through the room like metal tearing. He pointed a finger at Ibrahim. "You don't walk into my house and dictate terms." But before he could continue, Ibrahim raised his hand. The movement was small, but it stopped Trump cold. "Your house?" Ibrahim asked. His voice didn't rise, but every word carried fire. "This earth belongs to no man's pride, and the blood of Africa will not fuel your empire." Trump's face went pale. His lips parted as if to answer, but no words came. And then, a loud knock on the door interrupted everything. The entire room turned. The knock echoed again, harder this time, making every head snap toward the door. The guard opened it slowly, revealing a tall man in a dark suit. He carried a sealed envelope, his expression grim. "Special delivery," he said flatly, handing it directly to the lead American negotiator. The man's hands shook as he tore it open, his face drained of color. Trump barked, "What is it?" The negotiator hesitated, his lips trembling. "It's from the UN. They've launched an urgent inquiry into U.S. operations in West Africa. Gasps filled the room. Trump's jaw tightened, but Ibrahim's face didn't move. His silence was louder than shouts. "You set this up," Trump snapped. His voice cracked with anger, but underneath it was something far more dangerous: panic. Ibrahim's reply was chilling in its simplicity. "I don't control the world. I only told the truth." The world listened. The papers were passed around. Every line screamed betrayal, exposure, accountability. The Americans knew this wasn't just a negotiation anymore. It was survival. Trump sank back into his chair, breathing heavy, his eyes darting to every corner of the room. And then Ibrahim leaned closer, whispering words that cut like glass. "Power doesn't crumble from outside," Ibrahim said softly, his eyes fixed on Trump. "It rots from within, and yours is rotting fast." The words pierced the air like thunder. Trump, usually quick with insults, was frozen. His eyes flickered toward his own negotiators, as if checking who might already be turning against him. A glass on the table tipped over, spilling water across the polished wood. The droplets spread slowly like veins reaching outward. No one dared clean it. One American diplomat broke the silence. "Mr. President, if this investigation goes public, we can't hold our ground. Not with Africa. Not with anyone." Trump slammed his fist on the table. The sound was violent, desperate. But still, he had no answer. Then, in a move no one predicted, Ibrahim removed his military cap and placed it gently on the table. His voice lowered. "I am not here to humiliate you. I am here to free my people. But if you force chains on us again, the world will see who is truly afraid." Trump's breathing quickened. For the first time, he looked less like a leader and more like a man cornered. Then the woman diplomat spoke again. Her name was Evelyn Ross, a mid-level negotiator who had rarely been noticed in the room. She looked at Trump, then at Ibrahim. Her hands trembled, but her voice was clear. "Mr. Traoré is right. We cannot continue this way." The statement dropped like a bomb. Trump spun toward her, his face flushed red. "You're finished, Evelyn. You hear me? Finished." But Evelyn didn't back down. Instead, she looked directly at Ibrahim. "What do you want?" Ibrahim paused. His dark eyes scanned the room, then fixed on her. Respect, resources returned, and the right for Africa to stand without foreign strings. Evelyn nodded slowly, her face pale but resolute. "Then maybe we should listen." Trump erupted, slamming both hands on the table. "This is treason," his voice thundered, but it only made the silence after him louder. The smell of ink and wet paper filled the air as the spilled water touched the folder Ibrahim had brought. The black letters bled across the page like truth seeping where no one could hide it. And then Ibrahim leaned back, his calm returning. "This is not the end," he said. "This is only the beginning." The knock came again, louder this time. The second knock thundered like a warning. This time the guard opened the door faster. A young aide rushed in, his face pale, breath short, as if he had been running. He clutched a tablet in his hands. "Breaking news," he stammered. "It's already live." He placed the tablet on the table, turning the screen so everyone could see. A global news channel was broadcasting leaked documents, the same ones Ibrahim had exposed. Headlines flashed in bold red. "U.S. secrets in Africa uncovered." The entire room stiffened. Trump's face turned crimson. "Shut it down, pull it off the air," he barked. But it was too late. The world had already seen it. Evelyn whispered almost to herself, "There's no stopping this now." Ibrahim didn't gloat. He didn't smile. Instead, his eyes darkened with a deep sadness. "I never wanted it this way," he murmured. "But when the truth is buried, it will always claw its way out." Trump's fist trembled on the table. For the first time in his career, he looked powerless. Then the aide added in a shaky voice, Mr. President, protesters are already gathering outside. Everyone turned toward the window. The chanting had begun. The sound rose through the walls, distant at first, then louder. Angry chants, drums, voices demanding justice. Outside the building, a crowd had gathered, their signs raised high against the gray sky. Trump stormed to the window, pulling the curtain back. His face went pale. Hundreds, maybe thousands, were already there. "This is sabotage," he roared. "Who let them in?" But Ibrahim stood slowly, every movement calm, deliberate. "They don't need permission to stand up," he said. "The world outside this room has decided enough is enough." The smell of sweat and ink filled the tense air. Diplomats shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between Trump and Ibrahim. No one wanted to be the first to move. Evelyn finally spoke again, her voice steady but strained. "Mr. Traoré, if you walk out to that crowd now, they will see you as a symbol. But if President Trump walks out—" She hesitated, glancing at him. "It will only fuel the fire." Trump spun around, his finger trembling as he pointed at her. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." But the chants outside grew louder. The crowd was calling one name, repeated, relentless. "Ibrahim, Ibrahim, Ibrahim." Trump froze, his jaw tightened. The chant shook the room, like waves battering a fragile wall. Trump's lips curled in fury. "You think this is victory? You'll regret this day." His voice was sharp, but behind it was fear, raw and exposed. Ibrahim didn't flinch. He walked slowly to the window, placing his hand against the glass. Outside, the people raised their fists, their voices thundering like a storm. His reflection stared back at him, half covered by the crowd's movement. He turned back to the room. "This is bigger than me, bigger than you. This is history choosing its path." One American negotiator muttered under his breath, "We're losing control." Evelyn looked at Trump with quiet defiance. "No, you already lost it." Trump's breathing grew ragged. He slammed the curtain shut, blocking out the sight of the crowd. "This ends now." But Ibrahim's next words were unexpected. His voice dropped low, almost trembling with emotion. "No, Mr. Trump, it begins now. For every child buried in silence, for every mother who cried without justice. Their voices are here with me." The room froze. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Then the door creaked open again. This time it wasn't a knock. Someone was entering. The door opened slowly, every creak pulling hearts tighter. A tall man stepped in, an international observer from the African Union, wearing a gray suit with the organization's emblem pinned neatly to his lapel. His arrival was unexpected, unannounced. "I was sent to monitor these talks," he said calmly, placing a leather folder on the table. His accent carried weight, his words crisp. "But now the entire world is watching." Trump's face darkened. "You have no authority here." The observer didn't flinch. He slid the folder open, revealing live reports, photographs of protests spreading across other cities, from Dakar to Nairobi. "Authority is not the issue, Mr. President. Legitimacy is, and today you are losing it." The room tightened. The chant outside grew louder, shaking the walls. Ibrahim spoke gently. "You see, Africa is not a chessboard. We are human beings who bleed, who dream, who rise." The observer nodded in agreement. Evelyn leaned forward, her eyes glistening. "Then this is no longer negotiation. This is judgment." Trump's hand slammed the table again, but his voice cracked this time. "You're making a mistake." The observer's eyes narrowed. "No, the mistake has already been made." Trump's composure finally cracked. His face flushed, his breathing uneven. "You don't understand," he barked. "Without U.S. control, chaos will swallow you all." But Ibrahim's reply was steady, almost tender. No, Mr. Trump. The chaos came from your control. The words landed heavy. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Evelyn stood, surprising everyone. Her hands trembled, but her voice was clear. I will not be part of this any longer. I stand with truth. Trump's eyes widened in disbelief. You betray your own country? For him? Evelyn shook her head. Not for him, for justice. The African Union observer slid a paper across the table. Sign this acknowledgement. It confirms you will no longer interfere in Burkina Faso's sovereignty. Trump's jaw locked. His hand hovered above the paper, veins bulging, sweat dripping down his temple. The pen clicked open. Everyone held their breath. But at the last second, he threw the pen across the room. Never! The sound of the pen clattering against the wall echoed like a gunshot. The chants outside roared louder. Ibrahim didn't move. His calm eyes locked on Trump. Then the world will decide for you. The walls shook as the crowd outside swelled, their voices fierce and unstoppable. A drumbeat thundered, as if the earth itself was demanding justice. Trump's hands trembled now, his once dominant presence unraveling before everyone's eyes. You can't do this, he muttered. You'll destroy everything. Ibrahim leaned forward, his voice breaking into raw emotion. Everything is already destroyed for my people. Children starve while your companies grow fat. Mothers bury their sons while your markets profit. Do you understand what that feels like? His words cracked the air like lightning. For the first time, Trump looked down, unable to meet his eyes. The observer's voice was firm. The people outside aren't here for war. They're here for dignity, and you can't silence dignity. Evelyn wiped a tear from her cheek, whispering, This moment will never be forgotten. Trump's lips parted, but no words came. His silence was louder than his rage. And then from outside, a single sound pierced the chanting. A child's voice, clear, high, innocent. It shouted Ibrahim's name. The room fell utterly still. Even Trump lifted his head, eyes wide. That single voice carried more weight than any negotiation ever could. The child's voice echoed again, louder this time. Ibrahim, Ibrahim. It wasn't anger, it was hope. Soon the chant of thousands softened, following the rhythm of that single voice, turning into something more powerful, almost like a prayer. Inside the room, no one spoke. Even Trump, flushed and trembling, froze. The sound cut through the walls and straight into every heart. Ibrahim closed his eyes for a brief second, his jaw tightening. He whispered, That's why I am here. Trump's fist slammed the table weakly, but his voice faltered. They're just children. They don't understand the world. Ibrahim snapped his eyes open, filled with fire. They understand more than you. They understand hunger, loss, and pain. And still, they choose hope over fear. The African Union observer leaned forward. This is no longer a negotiation. This is a reckoning. Evelyn, tears streaming down her face, whispered, History is being written outside these walls. Trump's breathing quickened. His hands trembled as he reached for a glass of water, but spilled it across his sleeve. His weakness was visible. And then, the door burst open once again. A U.S. security official rushed in, panic written on his face. Mr. President, the guard shouted, his voice cracking. The protest has doubled in size. The police can't contain them. Trump's face drained of color. Call in reinforcements, he barked. But the guard hesitated. With respect, sir. Half the officers refused to act. They're joining the crowd. The words hit like thunder. Trump staggered back a step. His authority, once untouchable, was dissolving before his eyes. Ibrahim rose slowly, his presence towering without a single weapon. He looked at the guard. And what do they chant? The guard swallowed hard. Your name, sir. They chant Ibrahim. The room fell silent. Evelyn's hand covered her mouth. tears slipping down her cheeks. Even the hardened negotiators shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tide turning. Trump's voice cracked, almost pleading now. You think they love you? They'll turn on you next. That's what people do. Ibrahim shook his head, his voice deep with sorrow. No, they don't want to love me. They want someone who refuses to betray them. The observer leaned in, his voice firm. The world is watching, Mr. President. Choose wisely. Trump's lips quivered, his hand gripping the chair like it was the last anchor keeping him from falling. The chanting outside grew so strong it felt like the walls themselves might collapse. Trump staggered to the window, yanking the curtains open again, his face twisted in disbelief. Thousands filled the streets, waving flags, holding pictures of Ibrahim, crying out his name. The sight rattled him to the core. This is madness, he shouted. I'm still President of the United States. But no one in the room moved. No one supported him. Ibrahim stepped closer, his voice calm yet thunderous in its truth. Power is not in titles. Power is in the people. And today they have spoken. Trump turned, his eyes glassy with desperation. You'll regret this. They'll regret this. Ibrahim's gaze softened for a moment. He looked at Trump not as an enemy, but as a man who had lost himself to fear. The only regret, Ibrahim said, is waiting too long to stand up. The crowd outside roared louder, the child's voice rising again above thousands. It carried a strange kind of purity, breaking every wall. Trump stumbled back into his chair, burying his face in his hands. And then, the power in the building went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Darkness filled the room. Only the faint glow of the tablet screens illuminated the anxious faces around the table. The sudden blackout amplified every heartbeat, every whisper. Ibrahim stayed calm, his presence grounding everyone. Do not fear darkness, he said softly. Even in the darkest night, truth shines. Trump's breathing grew rapid. What is happening? He stammered. Sweat slicked his forehead. Evelyn whispered almost in awe. It's as if the world itself is reacting. Outside, the chants didn't stop. The drum beats became louder, synchronized with the collective heartbeat of the crowd. Their voices, raw and unwavering, pressed through the walls. Ibrahim moved to the window, placing his hand against the glass. He could feel the vibration of thousands of footsteps and cries reverberating through the building. This is not protest, he said. This is awakening. Trump slumped into his chair, hands shaking, utterly powerless. The once intimidating negotiators no longer knew which side to stand on. The African Union observer whispered, History is being rewritten, right here, right now. Ibrahim took a deep breath, his eyes glistening. Let them see what courage looks like, he murmured. The power surged back suddenly, lights flickering on, illuminating every face, every emotion, every truth in the room. Trump looked around, dazed, as if waking from a nightmare. The room no longer obeyed him. The protests outside had grown, spreading through the city, their voices unstoppable. Ibrahim didn't shout. He didn't gloat. He simply stood tall, shoulders steady, eyes calm but fierce. We stand for the voiceless, he said. We rise for the forgotten. Evelyn and the African Union observer exchanged a glance, silent confirmation that the tide had shifted irreversibly. Trump muttered something under his breath, his voice hollow, drained of authority. He sank back into his chair, a man undone by truth. The child's voice outside rose once again, higher than before, carrying with it hope, innocence, and courage. Ibrahim closed his eyes, tears brimming, feeling the weight of every life that had been ignored. For a moment the world paused. Every diplomat, every aide, every soldier in the room felt it. The gravity of courage, the power of standing unflinchingly for what is right. Ibrahim exhaled slowly. "Let this be remembered," he whispered, "not as a victory for one man, but as proof that truth cannot be silenced." Outside, the chanting morphed into a wave, washing over the city like thunder. Morning broke, and with it, clarity. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the exhausted faces of everyone inside. The protests had calmed, but the message remained unmistakable. Trump, pale and defeated, avoided eye contact. He had no words, no defenses, no power left in this room. Ibrahim looked out the window, breathing in the scent of dust, sweat, and hope. "This is what we fought for," he said softly. "A chance to be seen, to be heard, to be respected." Evelyn placed a hand on his shoulder, tears glistening. "You gave them courage, Ibrahim. You gave all of us courage." The African Union observer nodded solemnly. "History will remember this moment. Your people will remember. The world will remember." Ibrahim's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "Then the fight continues, but now, with truth on our side." Trump finally stood, silent, and left the room. He no longer commanded fear. Outside, children laughed, mothers cried, and the streets hummed with life and hope. Ibrahim stepped forward, letting the sunlight fall on him. The camera would have captured this moment for eternity. A man, humble yet powerful, standing for his people, unbroken. And if you felt the weight of his courage, if his story moved you to tears, then don't stop here. Like, comment, and subscribe. The world needs witnesses.